India Today staying with the breaking news in Jammu and Kashmir that a CRPF Jawan has been martyred in a pre-dawn terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama district. Sources say that the terrorists managed to barge inside the camp, which was a CRPF training camp in the Pulwama region, which remains tense for now. And terrorist outfit Jaish-e-Mohammed appears to have claimed responsibility for the attack, which it is calling as an avenge killing of the group's commander Noor Trali. Remember, Noor Trali was in fact gunned down just a few days back, and 3 militants, we are being told, entered inside the training camp, more likely as a Fedayeen attack. An exchange of firing is currently going on as per the security forces. 2 CRPF Jawans were also injured in the initial firing, but sources say that the police had alerted all security agencies about a possible attack, specifically a Fedayeen attack. Srinagar-Jammu highway was closed at least during the night. It may have now reopened considering the incident happened at night. I'm now joined by Gaurav Sawant. Gaurav, a bloody year for security forces, 2017. Enough attacks were curtailed. But clearly, does it appear that the terror groups are not backing down? How the security force is taking and considering this, Gaurav?
It is a desperate terror attack. What I can tell you at this point of time, from what CRPF sources are telling India Today, that these terrorists have now been isolated inside a building. So now they're no longer, all over the place at the CRPF camp. Yes, they did succeed in hurling under-barrel grenade launchers, firing UBGLs, and entered the building, entered the CRPF camp. There have been 2 fatalities of the CRPF is what sources tell India Today. And as soon as these terrorists entered, security forces have hit back. They've isolated them. Now it's a matter of time. How soon are they neutralized inside this building before they can cause any more damage? But you're absolutely right. Despite 200 plus terrorists being killed, 220 at the last count, the foreign terrorists continue to strike in a big way. If you'd recall, Pooja, there was a big group of Jaish-e-Mohammed foreign terrorists that had entered India. Some of those remnants were still out there, and this perhaps appears to be an attack by one of them.
Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant is bringing some very significant information that these terrorists appear to have been isolated by the security forces. The security forces are ensuring that the casualties do not escalate. But tragically, we are reporting that at least there are some casualties being reported from our side. I'm joined by Shuja Haq, who was in Pulwama. Shuja, so at least 2 CRPF Jawans martyred. Would that be correct right now as a verified information?
Well, yes, that's what the information is coming to us. Officials are saying that 2 of these Jawans who had been injured in the initial attack have now succumbed to their injuries. One more Jawan is still injured, and the encounter is very much on. Though these militants, have been isolated, they've been limited to one structure, and that building has been, surrounded by the security forces on all sides, and the encounter is being carried out. But the fact still remains that it will be a difficult thing to explain how did these militants manage to enter in such a very high security zone. Let me tell you, it's not just the CRPF whose camp is in this area. There are other security agencies also who have their installations around, and there were intelligence inputs that such an attack can take place. So all those things would be questions that need to be answered, but at this point of time the focus remains on carrying out this operation, on ensuring that this encounter is carried out. The good thing is that what we've been told is that these attackers have been in a sense cornered. They've been isolated in one structure, and now the experts who are in CRPF and other agencies are on the job and are constantly engaging these militants in a gunfight.
Shuja, would it be correct to say that considering this was a training camp and a training center, probably that while the alert was given to all by security agencies, that a training camp could have made for an easy target? Could that be a possibility? Or is there enough security deployment there as well?
That could be a possibility. In fact, like I was whereas, like I was pointing out, there were, intel inputs that
Yes.
such attacks could take place in this area. Basically, like you've been pointing out that Jaish-e-Mohammed, has been carrying out such fidayeen attacks, such suicide attacks of late in the valley. If you remember, just a couple of, in fact, just about a month back, there was an attack in Srinagar on the BSF camp. That attack was also a Jaish-e-Mohammed suicide attack. Similarly, about a couple of months back, there was a similar attack in Pulwama on the district police lines, in which again the Jaish-e-Mohammed men were found involved. This time around, intelligence was all the more alerted, in a sense, sent across in an alert mode, because there was input that since top Jaish-e-Mohammed militant
Yes.
has recently been killed in this area, there is a possibility that such attacks could be mounted on installations along this area. Whether why CTC or a commando training center has been chosen is something that we will get to know later on. But at this point of time, the questions that remain is that how did they manage their entry? But even more, urgent, thing that at this moment, which lies in front of the security forces, is to ensure that the casualties are limited and this encounter is finished as soon as possible.
Well, for viewers who are tuning in just now to India Today, an early morning significant news that 2 CRPF Jawans have been martyred in a pre-dawn terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama district, which is the South Kashmir area, remains volatile, remains tense. Shujaul Haq and other correspondents are on ground giving us significant details as well. Gaurav Sawant, Kamaljeet Sandhu, Sudhiranjan Sen informing us update by update. But India Today continues to remain only with facts, not making any significant conclusions which are not verified. Director General of Police SP Vaid also maintained that the police personnel, the CRPF, are ensuring that the terrorists remain isolated. Shuja, so if the terrorists are isolated right now near a building, as Gaurav Sawant was also mentioning, does this mean that the security forces will continue at least for the next few hours to ensure that the area there remains sanitized, that probably any further, whether it is traffic movement, whether it is with regard to ensuring that no other movement takes place, that the next few hours are very crucial right now in that area?
But certainly, that is the standard operating procedure as well.
Yes.
Next few hours, very crucial. But thankfully, the traffic on the national highway has not been disrupted. The camp is a little, elevated from the main road. And the fact that the attack took place very, very early in the morning, around 2, which is the time when there is anyway very minimal traffic on the roads. So in a sense, it did not impact any movement, particularly on the national highway or when it comes to traffic, etc. But like I've been pointing out, the encounter very much on, it rages on. We're not giving any operational details, but we can hear gunshots being fired at officials who are on the spot, telling us constantly that the security forces, the commandos, are engaging these militants who have been isolated, limited to one side, and are hiding in one of the buildings. So the encounter very much on, all precautions being taken at this point of time. 3 Jawans who had been injured initially, out of them 2 have succumbed to their injuries, but apart from that, there are no more reports of injuries or fatalities. So one can only hope that probably this attack has been limited to this much damage. There are questions that definitely would need a lot of answering from the security forces, but the focus at this point of time is on this operation.
In fact, I was just going to ask you the same, Shuja, that despite all possible alerts, and it may not be fair to ask right now, but for these fidayeen attackers to be able to venture inside the camp, and very clearly the sentries at the gate would have attempted their best to have curtailed any possible entrance, but How possibly do you think that these attackers managed to succeed in entering inside the camp? Because even though it was a training camp, it did manage to lead to our casualties as well.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was also pointing towards. There would be questions that would need answering from the security forces, particularly to the fact that how did they manage their entry into such a high security area, high security zone, specifically at the point when there was intelligence shared already that such attacks could take place. However, while all that will be explained later on, and it definitely needs probing, but at this moment, almost all focus is on ensuring that this encounter is carried out, and the operation that has been on is brought to its conclusion. So far, the officials are only saying that it does look like that the attack has been contained because these militants have been cornered, have been isolated in one structure, and now it's only a matter of time before it will be over. But there certainly would be questions that still would need a lot of answering.
Shuja, please stay on with me because I'm also joined by former Director General of Police, M.M. Khajuria. Sir, Fedayeen attacks are easiest because they are the most cowardly possible by the terror groups. It is only primarily to attempt to enter inside these camps and blow themselves up. But how do you think the security forces need to manage it furthermore, because there are already alerts, and what a bloody end to 2017, sir, for Jammu and Kashmir?
You see, the Fedayeen attacks by themselves follow the classical pattern which is happening at the moment.
Yes.
But the point is, they always carry a message. The message is that the terrorist war in Kashmir are indeed in the rest of the country is going to be escalated in the next year, the new year, and that the Daesh has indeed come on the same page with the Lashkar and others in this particular phase. The second message is that the Indian state and the Indian people, we must recognize that elimination of a number of terrorists through security force actions, which is commendable and has achieved that particular objective, is not enough to deter the forces which are determined to carry forward terrorism and establish Nizam Mustafa under a hybrid regime. This has to be seen in the larger context. Otherwise, we will be...
So what do you mean when you say it should be seen in the larger context? I'm trying to understand. What do you mean by the larger context? Are you saying how it should be seen with regard to Pakistan? How you think that probably the security forces need to be probably a little more alert if possible?
No, this is more important that we have to address all the dimensions of this problem simultaneously. The one fundamental area in which we have been absolutely lacking, and we will not engage the enemy in the ideological dimension, which is the root of the entire mischief. And as long as they remain free to preach Wahhabism and convert people to Ahmadis and so on and so forth, they will be finding recruits in Kashmir, they are finding supporters in the rest of the world, and the global dimension of terrorism would be more creeping into Kashmir with the possible disaster consequences. So we have to address this particular instance, particular dimension, number one.
Sir, as a former...
We have to have control on the ground. We are conducting operations into the areas, inflicting casualties on the terrorists, and then we're trying to our bases. No. We have to go deep into South and establish ourselves and provide a security umbrella which can enable the people who are now fed up with this kind of mischief by Pakistan and its allies to be able to have their say and revert back to try to revert back to normalcy. That is the best guarantee of defeating terrorism.
Sir, as a former Director General of Police in the state that has clearly witnessed many similar attacks, what are the options available with the security forces, whether it is the police, whether it is the CRPF or even the army, sir? With regard to Fidayeen attacks, what precisely are the options available? We know that the terrorists currently are holed up in a nearby building, but what possibly do you think that are available opportunities with the forces at that juncture, sir?
You see, Fidayeen attack is something which is considered low cost and high yield. And it is when the person comes to die, they don't have any problem about safety and so on and so forth. The first important thing is to ensure that they are not able to enter the camps. That's the area where we have a weakness. The information sometimes comes that enough money has not been provided to the security forces to sort of beef up their outer parameters. The structural defense is as important as the location of the men to deter these people from entering the area. One thing which has been received very sort of significantly is in almost all attacks we were able to quickly put them in the corner and sort of circle them. Then thereafter it's a question of time. The intelligence part is very important. We have had the intelligence. There will be enough time to go into this, how and why and where there was a change. But we have to understand it's a continuing war, and you can't be 100% secure in this war, and that one odd incident or a couple of incidents should not be taken as a reflection on the security forces' capability or the preparedness to take them on.
Okay, thank you so much, M.M. Khajuria, former Director General of Police, Jammu and Kashmir, for joining us with all the details here. Let's remember that the South Kashmir area has been tense, and even the Director General of Police currently, SP Vaid, had maintained that the security forces had been able to curtail down the situation, and that 2018 may be less challenging. But is it going to be so, considering that the terror groups are not backing out, and we just on the last day of 2017, early dawn, we witnessed 2 CRPF Jawans martyred in this pre-dawn terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama district. In fact, I just want to replay what Director General of Police SP Vaid told us early morning, specifically about the details that he possibly could give at that moment.
We have a CRPF group center near Letpura, Avantipur, Pulwama district. During the intervening night, I think 2 terrorists, it could be 2 to 3, they fired on the sentry of the CRPF, and there was alertness all across. In fact, there were reports of such a movement, and the boys were alert. But I think using UVGLs and other firing, they have managed to enter the camp, but they have been limited to a building. Senior officers of the CRPF, JNK Police and Army are on spot.
As Director General of Police Jammu and Kashmir Police, SP Vaid, he had in fact interestingly only given out a press briefing just a few days back, referring to how the police and in joint operations had managed to curtail terror operations. So while that was appreciative and praiseworthy, we have another Fidayeen attack coming at about 2 a.m. on the intervening night of 30th and 31st December, and we will continue to bring out further details. So clearly, with regard to the rest of the country, let's remember, planning celebrations with regard to the New Year, the security forces stay on guard. whether it is even the training camp, whether it is the border, the security forces are not letting their guard down, because this Fidain attack in Jammu and Kashmir is a reminder that the region remains tense, and the security forces will have to do all that it takes so as to ensure that no such casualties probably escalate in the near future.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.